welcome to Real Talk with the Roses, episode 2. So we're going to answer some more of their questions.
Let's go for it.
Last week was fun. We got to walk down memory lane.
And then some.
Some memories were not quite as accurate as others, right?
Nope.
It's hard to remember back 30 years.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, if you guys missed that one, you want to make sure that you go on back and take a look at that. I will have a playlist called Real Talk with the Roses. You can find that on my page, and you can watch episode 1 that told you how we met and when our first date was and all that fun stuff.
Yep.
So tonight we're going to answer a couple of more of your questions and see where this one takes us.
Oh boy.
It's always an adventure. All right, the first question that we are going to answer comes to us from Tish Shane. And she asks, how we keep the fun part of marriage alive, how we balance work, family, friends, YouTube, and keep it all in harmony with our life. So we're going to tackle those questions tonight. The first part of that is, how do we keep the fun part of marriage alive?
I think for me, the key is to always have a good sense of humor. I think I tend to be a little more humorous than you are, but I go overboard with it.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
But you're right. I've tried to have a sense of humor, but let's just face it, I'm really pretty serious most of the time.
Yeah. And when you try to be humorous, it really doesn't work out too well.
I'm very dry humor or corny. Once in a while, I can get on a roll where I'm a little funny.
Even a blind squirrel can find a nut every once in a while.
But I'm a pretty serious person. And even with laughing, it takes a lot to make me laugh.
Unless it's at yourself.
Yeah.
You do that more than...
I do laugh at myself a lot. I have a lot to laugh at on occasion. But even the kids will joke. If we're watching like an old rerun of, I don't know, say Andy Griffith or something like that through Netflix, they will find something really funny. And like the three of you guys will be busting out laughing. And I'm just not finding the humor in it. And they'll joke with me, Mom, you just don't laugh at anything. I do laugh, but it takes a lot, really, to make me laugh. And I don't know what makes me that way, but I'm just very serious. I'm a focused person, I guess is a good word, and just pretty serious most of the time. So yeah, you do have much better humor than me, but how do we keep fun stuff, or do you even think we do? Do you think that our marriage is fun, and if so, what things make it fun?
I think it is. I think what makes it fun is our date nights that we don't always do like we should. We kind of get out of the routine per se of doing those, but when we get back into that, I would say that's our fun time, because that's just alone time.
And really, over the last 3 years working on this house, there hasn't been hardly any of that at all.
Not until here recently.
Yeah, because first of all, there wasn't time. You were always working.
Yeah.
Every free hour that you had, and his boss was good enough to let him off 1 day a week. You had 1 full day a week that you could take off of work to work on the house because we were so sick, and they saw the importance of that. So,
and I usually did that on Friday, so I could have a full Friday and Saturday back-to-back days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there really wasn't, and then on top of that, just the amount of money that it has taken to get this thing even as far as it's gotten. There just wasn't time, there wasn't money. And you don't always have to have money to go on a date. You can find things to do that don't cost a lot, but it's hard to find things to do like that. So really over the last 3 years, there hasn't been even a lot of that going on. Mm-hmm. But keeping fun in marriage, I mean, the question really wasn't even necessarily so much about the fun things that we do, but how to keep the fun part of marriage alive, wanting some advice in that area. So I'll let you answer that first. What is some advice that you have for them that they could do to keep their marriage fun? Because I really do think if you lose the fun, if you lose the spark that you had when you were dating, your marriage can go south really fast because of all the stress and the pressure that comes with marriage. It's got to have fun. So What's some things that you could suggest to them that would help them keep fun in their marriage?
I guess spontaneity would be one of the key things, both for the husband and the wife, in that, you know, like if the husband comes home from work, him just say, let's go. But not to dwell on the humor thing, but I think you can't be so serious all of the time to where you can't let your hair down, you can't kind of relax with each other, you can't spend that quality time together to where you don't really talk about anything like deep or specific, but just relax with each other.
And that really takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort. First of all, if you are a serious person, it takes a lot of work to try to let things out of your mind so that you can just relax and just have fun and see the humor in situations. And the spontaneity is also a lot of work because, like, you are not a spontaneous person.
No.
I'm the spontaneous one. Like, I'm the one, even though I may not necessarily laugh a lot, that kind of paints a picture for all you guys. It's like maybe I'm stiff and staunch and boring and all that. That's not the case. I may not laugh a lot, but I'm very spontaneous. I'm the type of person that, like, at the drop of a hat, ooh, let's just go do it. And can do things easily without a plan. You, on the other hand, are very structured.
Exact opposite.
And you want a plan.
Yep.
And if it's not in the plan, you're not happy about having to sometimes do things. So on both sides, it is work. That's why, you know, people get married and they have this fairy tale and fantasy that it's going to be happily ever after and things are just going to be so smooth. And they don't realize that marriage is work. It is hard work on both parts. There's give and take. There's compromise. There is bending and being willing to do things that your spouse needs from you, even though it's not something that comes easy for you. And I'll give you an example of one of the ways that, like, I try to add a little bit of fun. Last weekend, most of you guys know, or actually 2 weekends ago, most of you guys know that we had taken our kids down for a retreat in Tampa. And we actually were going to do the meetup on Monday. And that just kind of all fell through because not enough people could get off for the holiday. But when we dropped the kids off on Saturday, our normal plan every year when we take them to this retreat is that we get a hotel and we stay in town just because it's a long drive, it's a lot of gas, and it's just more convenient for us just to take the weekend to just stay down there and kind of use that for a little couple's getaway. And this year, because of everything that's been going on with our house and we just are out of finances and credit cards maxed and just did not have a way to pay to stay, we were not going to be able to stay for the weekend. So we take the kids into the store, and we were killing a few minutes because we got there early. So we just took them into Five Below. Okay, let's be honest. Mommy wanted to go to Five Below. So we were shopping around, and I walked past an aisle, and I kept thinking, I had already kind of briefly mentioned it to him that, you know, we could be like teenagers, young and in love, and we can just go sleep on the beach all night. And what was your first response?
I don't remember. What was it?
No.
No.
His first response was, no, we can't do that. Because you're very reserved and very need a plan. Like if we had planned to do that 2 months ago and you could have worked your way up to it, you might would have gone for it a little better. But for me to throw it at you at the last minute when we had planned to go home, he was like, no, we can't do that. And then I kept standing there and I would say, come on, let's be like two people in love. Like when we were teenagers and you stay up all night and you don't even think about time. And like I was really working it, ladies, really working it. And so finally he says, well, okay, we can try it. We can give it a try. So we picked up 2 of their little $5 blankets. Yep. And we decided we were going to stay just out on the beach all night long. Over on the West Coast, the beaches are a lot safer. You can do that on the West Coast where we were at St. Pete Beach and not really be too worried about...
The West Coast of Florida, yeah.
Yeah, the West Coast of Florida.
The West Coast.
Right. The West Coast of Florida at the Gulf. And on our beaches over here on the East Coast, I would never probably do that. Would you?
Nah, depending on where it is.
Yeah, I think I'd be a little too afraid to do that on the East Coast over here. But at any rate, he finally was like, well, okay. So those are the kinds of things that I'm talking about as far as be creative and find things that are out of the norm, things that you would have done when you were really young, things that you did maybe when you first dated to find ways to be together. And because when you first start dating and you're young, you never want to be apart. You never want to say goodnight. You don't want to have to take that kiss goodnight and go home.
No.
And sometimes when you get married, you just kind of take all that for granted because you're together all the time. But even though you're together, you're not together.
True.
It's not the fun experiences that keep that spark going. And so you have to be very purposeful with it. You have to get creative. You have to be bendable and you have to be flexible and you have to be willing to be spontaneous because fun just doesn't, you can't really plan fun. You just go with it.
Right.
I mean, you can plan a fun time, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like you can't pencil in, have fun.
And you got to be willing to do what the other person likes.
Yeah.
And not just something that only you like.
Exactly. Because like for you, that would not be your cup of tea, but you knew how important it was for me.
Right.
And that's why you were willing to say, okay.
Right.
Yeah. And vice versa. There are things that men love to do that would not necessarily be a woman's cup of tea. And I think that you have to be bendable and willing to experience things that your spouse really enjoys and really loves, to put in the effort to let them know that you love them enough. But to do it with a good attitude. Because I know that one of the things that we've learned along the way, and it goes for both of us, but probably more so you, because you are so navigational and you need a plan, that there's been a lot of times that things would come up kind of last minute. Either someone would call for us to go to dinner or whatever the deal would be, and you would not be happy about it because you weren't expecting it and you're not spontaneous, and then you would just kind of be a grump all night because you didn't want to do it and you wanted to let me know I don't like it, that we've had to. So when you give in, and I have done the same thing too. If you've come home from work or whatever and told me that so-and-so wanted us to do something, whatever it was, and I'd be like, you've got to be kidding me. I wasn't prepared for this. So we're both guilty in that. And I think that...
Me more so than you.
Yeah, just to be honest, that's true. But I think that you have to be willing to, when you do yield, to give in, to do something that your spouse enjoys, that you have to learn how to do it with a good attitude. Because if not, then you're still both miserable and it's not even worth the effort that you just put in to do whatever it was that you were going to do.
Right.
So I think the answer, really, the best answer that we can give you to that question about keeping the fun part of marriage is you have to be purposeful about it. And you have to make the time. You have to keep your marriage a priority.
Right.
I know a lot of times when people have their children, the children become a priority. And I think that's one of the reasons why you see so many divorces happen as the kids hit high school and even college. Sometimes parents will stay together till the kids leave and go to college, and then they split up because somewhere along that journey they lost each other. And they didn't keep a priority on the marriage.
Right.
And it has to be a priority. But it's work. You've got to make it a priority and make it happen. So those are just a couple little ideas. Be romantic, think outside the box. One of the times I remember when we went for our 10th anniversary, I believe it was one of the years, when we went to Orlando. I knew that I was going off with you for the whole weekend for our anniversary. But what I didn't know was that you had packed a bag and you had all of the candles and the votives, and there was enough for every year we had been married. Do you remember what anniversary that was?
I thought it was 10.
I thought it was the 10th one. And he had bought a votive candle to represent each year. And then he also bought the glass votives for them to go in. And he had gotten us a room that had a big jacuzzi tub. And he brought our favorite music from our wedding.
Yep.
And some of the love songs that we really enjoyed. And he had that music playing on a CD and had lit the candles in the bathroom before he would let me come in to see what he was doing. And it was so creative, and I felt so loved by that gesture. But it was a determined thing that you had to consciously make yourself do.
Mind the plan.
Yeah. And then there's been times that you know, the kids wouldn't be home, and when you would come home from work, I would be all dressed up for you and ready for you to come home for a romantic evening and surprise you when you walk in the door, and just things like that. You just have to start thinking creatively about what is something that my spouse would enjoy, that they would really love, and then just do it. Don't get in the routine of life that you forget to be purposeful about fun and keeping the spark alive.
Right.
Yeah. And anything else you want to add as far as that's concerned with having fun?
No, but romance was my next thing. So
Yeah.
you get it.
Yeah. You really got to make it purposeful. And I think it's so easy. And matter of fact, one of the things that I tell him a lot, and I even made this statement to you this past weekend, was that most of the time that affairs happen, it's not usually because a man just sees this extraordinarily beautiful woman, because in reality, a lot of times affairs happen with people that don't even look as good as the spouse, because not really about that. In most cases, it's about the fun, the flirting, the fun, the talking over the water cooler at work, or the just doing something exciting with this person that sparks that fun back. And then the next thing you know, you're in a relationship, not really a relationship, but a sexual tryst with them.
Yeah.
And so I remember this weekend when I was trying to get you, or that weekend when I was trying to get you to stay on the beach with me, you said no at first, and I said, come on, act like you were having an affair on me, and let's do it. You remember?
Oh,
Yeah. And so maybe not the best choice of words to use, but that's what I was thinking. You know, like when a husband or a wife steps out on each other, they do so much for the girlfriend or the boyfriend, sending them roses or candy, or, you know, scheduling a weekend away where they sneak away and call it a business trip or whatever, because they're adding the element of fun. And most of the time, if they would do that with their spouse, they wouldn't even be in the position to have the affair. So be purposeful about it, and think about those things that are outside the box that cause you to want to be together. Don't you think?
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay, the next part of her question was, how do we balance work, family, friends, and YouTube and keep it all in harmony with our life? So let's talk about balancing work and family and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, I think for us, just we're always so busy, you just got to make it a priority.
Would you say that you have always balanced work and family?
No.
No. So let's talk about that a little, because I know for a lot of marriages, work and family are completely out of balance.
Well, because typically for a guy, he gets his esteem at work. So, especially if you're lacking in self-esteem, you will try to work more because you're trying to get more of that esteem. And then, of course, the family suffers. So you've got to basically dissect and compartmentalize, for lack of a better term, each one of those categories. Each one has a place, work has a place, but there's a point in time where work needs to be laid to rest, per se.